What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have some fun stuff to get into today. We got to talk about a very interesting find, apparently, in the Nintendo Switch firmware, the operating system. It seems that people who are into the homebrew scene and hacking the Switch and everything seem to have uncovered some sort of VR mode in the Nintendo Switch that was apparently hidden in it. Now, people appear to be kind of going through it and checking the validity and everything, but so far it seems at least real from where we're seeing right now. So we're going to go over that and really talk about what those implications could mean, obviously, for the Switch. And then you might be surprised by the Media Create sales charts, because while people are, of course, talking about how they want the 3DS to kind of be left behind, with Kotaku even putting out an article that I kind of agreed with, because I like to see games go to the Switch instead of the 3DS myself. Well, the Media Create sales charts kind of show why the 3DS is still kicking around, as, well, a 3DS game topped those charts. We're going to talk about that a little later as well. Let's start with some quick news. I want to start with this really cool Virtual Boy mod that I came across, and I thought it was really neat, and I kind of wanted to show you guys. Check this out. This is actually the video here done by Luke Morse 1, and they actually had a VGA out modded onto their Virtual Boy system. You also get audio through it as well, but that allows him to then play the game on his TV from his Virtual Boy. And of course, if you know anything about the Virtual Boy, you'll know it's a very uncomfortable system to have to play. It has to stand up, you got to put your head against it and everything. And of course, it seems to give people migraines and headaches and all kinds of stuff, because it was this really old school, like, 90s way to do 3D with the red wireframe, and it was a disaster when it came out. There's not even that many games for it, because Nintendo pretty much got away from it pretty quick, but it's still a system that people want to try to play other than have to put your face in front of it like that, and having it hooked up to a TV is pretty neat. They showed it off. I'll leave a link to this video down in the description if you want to go check it out. I think it's something really neat, and I don't know if it would be a modding service that people would offer, because it sounds like it was kind of expensive, but I think it's actually a pretty cool little proof of concept to show that the Virtual Boy, yes, you can technically run it to the TV and play it just through VGA and just a couple $100. And we also got a little more information about the Quiet Man. Do you remember how we had that debut at E3 from Square Enix, and they kind of showed it off a bit? It was kind of a guy, it was live action, he kind of goes into an alleyway, fights some people, and then it kind of shifted the gameplay, and we weren't really sure at all about it, because he was quiet, he was pointing to his ear and stuff, almost like he was deaf or something. So we couldn't really figure out what was going on. They released a bunch of screenshots, though, showing some in-game stuff. The visuals are a little rough, and some of it I'm not even sure what's going on. It seems like he's making someone drink gasoline in one of them. And then they do kind of try to explain the story, but it's still extremely cryptic. They did tell us that the protagonist's name is Dane. The lady that's actually in some of the screenshots is Lala. And then there's a masked man that's simply just called Mask. So there you go. Don't really know what else is happening here. We heard we were going to find out more information in August. These might have just been some press release stuff that they put out with not much in terms of explanation. And maybe we'll find out more as we go a little further into August here, because I think we are going to get like a trailer or just some gameplay footage or something else, because this seems like it's going to be a bigger release for Square than we originally thought. So we'll see what we get. Oh, and do you remember Dragon Quest XI on the Nintendo Switch? It seems like that kind of went, well, missing. It was originally announced a long time ago when the Switch was called the NX. I think it was like the first game that was even announced on the system, and we haven't heard anything since then. We heard that they were working with Unreal Engine 4 to trying to get it up and running, and obviously Epic is really pushing forward with that with Fortnite as they keep making more and more updates and improvements to it. Well, it looks like they're at least progressing smoothly, according to them, and this is from Gamatsu, who actually had everything written down from their live stream, so great job to Gamatsu there. But you can actually see, they say, I can't really speak about it, but it is progressing smoothly, and they have a feeling, I have a feeling we'll have a variety of announcements around TGS, but just how much will we say? Well, conveniently, Tokyo Game Show comes out after Dragon Quest XI releases on the PS4 and PC in North America, which makes sense because they want that game to get out and have a few weeks, I assume, of sales before they start talking about the Switch version, which Tokyo Game Show starts towards to the end of September 20th. So that kind of lines up. Maybe they'll start drip feeding some information starting then. I don't know if we'll see any gameplay, but TGS makes a lot of sense, as the Switch is very hot in Japan right now, and honestly, if they take that and then they release it again in 2019, they'll get a whole nother release out of the same game, really. I mean, that'd be 3 releases. You know, they have their release in Japan. It's already out on 3DS and the PS4, and then it comes over to North America on the PS4 and the PC, and then they go back to Japan and release it on the Switch, and then they come over to North America and release it on the Switch. They're getting a lot out of this game. Now, with the quick news out of the way, guys, let's get into some of the bigger stuff. We're going to start with this Nintendo Switch VR mode that appears to have been found by people who are kind of poking around the firmware and the operating system of the Nintendo Switch. You're actually going to see a tweet here, and this was done by Random, or at Random666KYS, and they say they just tried to call this operation, and this screen here appeared that says test VR mode, and that is in response to Oatmeal Dome saying, I was recently helping Simon with something and I had to look at the AM services documentation. I noticed iCommon State Getter set VR mode enabled bool, which was discovered around this time last year. Has anyone actually tried calling it? And it seems right now there was some confusion, but after navigating through it, they seem to have found a mode where it appears to be a VR application or a test for VR. And we heard rumors, if you remember, on the lead up to the Switch's release, that they were trying VR. We even saw patents about it. And it makes a lot of sense that maybe they did get to a point where third parties, even themselves, were using the VR, playing around with it. Either the performance wasn't there, the screen, which is 720p, didn't look the best. Something maybe stopped them, or maybe they still have it in mind. They're just not ready to go forward with it yet, because I had the thought that, okay, if this is in the current OS or the firmware for the Switch, it doesn't necessarily mean it's for this Switch that we have now, considering we hear about them talking about the Switch as a family of systems and not necessarily this one system that we know of now. We could have different models that come out, but they all fall under kind of the Switch umbrella and maybe even play all the same games, just different resolutions and frame rates, like how we have the Xbox One and then the Xbox One S and then the Xbox One X. We could have something like that with the Switch, and maybe one of them will be VR enabled in some way, and they already have it built into the OS to call from, and there you go. I do think Nintendo could do something with VR, since while VR is growing, it's not rapidly growing. We've seen this with Oculus and Vive, and even PlayStation kind of talk about that. I think we need somebody else in the VR game outside of even like Samsung with their cell phones and stuff. I mean, cell phone, you would assume, is the best way to get mainstream in, but even that has been kind of sputtering. I think if we just had another player in the game like a Nintendo, even with their characters and their IPs, while it might not be the best experience, because obviously HTC Vive, which is like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for the headset and Oculus Rift and everything, if Nintendo could figure out their way in and have good IPs that they do have and try to introduce families and mainstream into VR, they might then take the next step up to, I don't know, a PlayStation VR or a Vive or something, but we'll see. It's very interesting that they found this. Now, we are still waiting for some other people in the scene to confirm and take a look at this and double check it. But so far, people have been at least saying that this appears to be real and everything. But for now, we'll kind of be tentative on this. But the rumors from before kind of line up with it possibly having a VR mode. And we'll see, because if it's real, you can imagine the people in the homebrew scene, the hacking scene, are all over it, and they're going to be playing around with it a lot, and we could see some pretty cool stuff. Next up, let's talk a bit about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We, of course, went over the full direct, all the characters and everything. Luigi was even killed. It was a whole day, right? Well, it looks like there's even going to be a collector's edition for people that want to get everything together. That includes a GameCube controller, the GameCube adapter, the game, and then a really cool looking box that you're seeing here. Now, the one issue, other than the price not being disclosed as of yet, which if you kind of go around and start adding stuff up, it'll probably be north of $100, maybe $120 to $130, unless they want to get be kind and kind of bundle everything together at a decent price like $100. I think that they would probably shoot for $130 and maybe throw an extra thing in there or something, but outside of that, it doesn't appear, at least as of this recording, that it's been announced for anywhere other than Europe. We're actually still waiting to hear from any of the other Nintendo Twitter accounts or anything about this special edition going elsewhere, because it appears to just be a bundled special edition now, and sometimes these bundles are specific to different regions, but I would like to see this make its way over to at least North America, where I am, because I want to buy this. Otherwise, I'll probably have to try to import it, since of course the one good thing about the Switch obviously is that it is region free. So even if they try to do this, which is annoying obviously, we can just buy it and wait for it to ship over. But I could also probably go to the store and hopefully, as long as it's not crazy like it was years ago on the Wii U, find a GameCube adapter, find a GameCube controller like this, because I'd like one of the brand new ones, and then of course the game, and just buy it all together anyway. If they don't offer a price discount, I guess I'm not missing out on much other than, I guess, the box and any other extra things they decide to throw in there. Next up, let's talk about what is probably, at least for now, until Spider-Man and then Red Dead and some others come up, my game of the year with God of War. We actually found out that there will be a free update August 20th, and it's going to add New Game Plus, which is great because that gives me a reason to turn the game back on and play through it. Now, the New Game Plus is fairly interesting because it's going to have a couple of extra benefits on top of being able to skip cinematics, which if you're playing back through it again and again, you'll probably want to be able to skip the cinematics because you've probably seen it, plenty of times at that point. But there will be new gear, resources. Some of the resources you actually collect will help you then craft and forge new gear. More difficult enemies with, according to them, there are going to be tricks up their sleeves, according to the press release and the update that they put out on their website, and this will all go live August 20th. I love this. New Game Plus is a great idea because obviously you can take your cool gear and powerful weapons back through, and maybe you want to bump the difficulty up a little bit because you have these items. Otherwise, maybe you want to play back through it and get these really nice, I guess, epic or whatever above epic is at that point, weapons that they have pretty much set up for you. So it's going to be neat. I'm going to like this. I'm going to play right back through it August 20th, and skipping the cutscenes because some of them can be kind of lengthy will probably cut down on the time to get through pretty well. And I want to see how much it differs with these tricks up their sleeves for some of these difficult enemies, and what gear they have kind of in mind, because it could be some really cool weapon. It could be an upgrade for your axe further even, and we'll see. It's gonna be fun though, and look forward to that August 20th. It's a free update. Then in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Media Create sales charts. These are of course the sales charts over in Japan. Gives us a look at how things do physically on the Japanese market pretty much the week prior, and we have a couple releases here. One of them is a big 3DS release. The other one's a mid-tier one, I guess you'd call it, with WarioWare, and then we saw a decently sized one for the Switch. Let's jump into the top 10 right away. Etrian Odyssey X on the 3DS topped the charts, 71,946, and then right below that there's a Pro Baseball Evolution game from Bandai Namco for Nintendo Switch. I was informed several times that the Pro Baseball series from Bandai Namco is pretty popular. There's a couple others as well, and that makes a lot of sense there. WarioWare Gold on the 3DS also debuted, 31,018 units. You can see right there between two 3DS games in the top three spots, over 100,000 3DS copies then sold between the two of them in the top three spots. That's pretty good there. Drum and Fun was number 4. That's actually dropped down from number 2 on Nintendo Switch. Splatoon 2, which again, I said before, never dropping out of the top 10. 2.5 million units, by the way, across by maintaining almost 21,000 units there. Octopath Traveler appears to have had a mild restock, as it actually jumped back up almost 40% to 18,448. It does still look like Japan is quite hungry for Octopath Traveler, as according to a lot of reports, it still continues to sell out. We should see a much larger restock according to Square in the next week or two. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Tennis Aces, Minecraft, and then Saga Scarlet Grace on the PS4, which was the one PS4 game in the top 10, actually rounded it out. That's 14,971. Jumping over to the systems, the Nintendo Switch at the top, 50,799. That's actually up from last week of just over 48,000. That makes the lifetime to date 4.77 million units. So it is creeping up on the PS4, and I'm starting to think that yes, that Pokemon and then that Smash between those two, so November into December, is probably when we'll see the Nintendo Switch, just from a prediction here, actually pass the PS4 lifetime, and that would be monstrous because that'd be very, very fast. PS4 below that, 19,000 units almost exactly. That is also up from last week. And again, the PS4, it's no slouch in Japan, even though the Switch obviously keeps selling, because the PS4 is possibly next week. We'll see if it has any bump. Otherwise, the week after, will reach 7 million units lifetime in Japan. And that is pretty big for just what is essentially a straight home console and not a hybrid system or a handheld. 3DS, 12,586, had a decent jump up from 8,714. That lifetime to date is over 24 million, and it's going to probably march on on to 25 million up to the holidays. PS Vita still sticking around, 3,339, and then the Xbox One actually fell from last week down to 74 units. So there you have it. That's why the 3DS is still around, because people still buy them and the games still sell well, and I have to imagine the games are not as expensive to develop on the 3DS as they are even on the Switch. As for the Switch, you have to worry about docked, undocked, whereas with the 3DS, it's just undocked essentially. It's handheld, right? So I understand, because I would like everything to just be on the Switch at this point, not to even worry about, oh, is it even going to be on the Switch or is it going to be on the 3DS? I don't really feel like playing the 3DS with the Switch out. So I get what Kotaku was saying and where they're coming from, yes, but I understand also from a business standpoint why the 3DS still gets games. The budget is lower to create these games, and they sell just as well in most cases, with 2 3DS games in the top 3 in the Media Create sales charts. And we also hear about how they do well, the 3DS does, still in the MPDs. That probably has a lot to do with the $80 2DS model that is an easy impulse buy. I mean, seriously, that's if you walk into Walmart, you might see the FIFA Gold Edition or whatever it is for $80, and then here's a full 2DS with Mario Kart for $80. So it's basically the price of a special edition game at this point. And guys, that's where I'm going to leave it for Newswave today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is God of War, New Game Plus. I'm excited for it. I really want to go back to it. This gives me a reason to even play back through it with my good armor and weapons and everything. It's going to be really cool. What about the 3DS still sticking around? Do you like it? Or would you rather them? Yes, I get it. Business-wise, sure, makes sense. But games should be coming out on the Switch first and foremost, and not the 3DS. That's fine. Let me know about all of those opinions down below as well. And then what about VR on the Switch? Good idea, or nah, not now. VR still needs some time to grow. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.